these important cases to work for you.
Mungie and Associates.
Put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. Do you solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which you're about to enter, so help you God?
I do.
I don't have any doubt in my mind. Now, you got some family?
Really nice. Joining us now, the mayor of Chicago, Democrat Lori Lightfoot. Let's start there. We have a lot to cover with you. But first, the choice of Kamala Harris to be Joe Biden's running mate. You know her. What's your gut about what she'll bring to the table?
Well, look, what I've heard and seen all over the country is a tremendous level of excitement. Not only is she exciting the South Asian community, the Indian community, the Black community, but women, I think, also an important demographic, and really shoring that up and giving people hope. You know, this has been a very, very difficult time for people all over the country, and we need something to rally around. And I think her addition to the ticket really gives people that thread of hope that we've all been looking for. The level of excitement and happiness, I'll just tell you, my 12-year-old daughter was beside herself with joy yesterday when she heard the news.
Well, I'm curious, just following up in terms of her body of work and working as the Attorney General for California, what we've seen when she was in Washington during hearings. I personally think it's a good fit, given that during this moment in history, the rule of law and our systems of government are really being challenged, and that she might really be able to communicate what's going wrong.
Well, look, she's a lawyer's lawyer. I mean, we've seen that on display over and over again in various committee hearings, certainly during the impeachment process, and more recently in her questioning of Attorney General Barr. She is somebody who understands the importance of the rule of law, understands the importance of making sure that victims have a seat at the table and that they've got a real advocate in the prosecutor's office in civil courts. So I think she will be a beacon of hope for those of us who have been despairing about Trump just completely abandoning the rule of law and really trying to subvert the courts, the prosecutor's offices, to bend to his will. We need to make sure that the rule of law stands for something in this country, and Kamala Harris is absolutely the embodiment of that.
Jason Johnson, jump in.
Mayor Lightfoot, obviously, with issues that have happened in Chicago aren't unique to Chicago, but issues with criminal justice, police brutality, and violence are going to be one of the most important things that voters are thinking about going into the fall. When you look at Senator Harris's record, and when you look at her as a potential vice president, what would you like to see her do and her propose as a mayor that would help you when it comes to issues like criminal justice and police brutality that you wrestle with in your city? What would you want out of Senator Harris or Vice President Harris?
Well, look, I think first and foremost, she understands the importance of supporting mayors and supporting cities. I've had numerous conversations with her, and it's clear to me that she gets it. These are difficult issues, and it gives this conversation that we're having locally and nationally really gives us an opportunity to right past wrongs and move forward. But we've got to do it in a way where we find common ground and we're unified in our approach. And I think Kamala Harris understands that. Obviously, Joe Biden gets it. He spent a lot of time talking to mayors, not just me, but Keisha Lance Bottoms, and really mayors across the country, because he understands the importance of making sure that local voices have a seat at the table. It'll be a welcome change from what we've been experiencing the last 4 years.
Claire McCaskill, next question.
Mayor, I know that you are struggling with the intersection of peaceful protest and angst in the community versus lawlessness. I think a lot of people have spent time talking about Joe Biden's legislative record, and certainly it was not perfect in terms of him being able to see the consequences of some provisions in the crime bill. But people forget that in that crime bill was also support for drug courts and also support for community policing. Can you talk about the resources needed for community policing and why that is so important when police officers are only responding to 911 calls and are not in the community, the kind of erosion of trust that occurs, and how we can turn this around in terms of resourcing community policing like we did in the 90s.
Well, community policing is at the core at everything we do regarding public safety. If the community doesn't have trust and faith that the police are on their side, the police can never be effective. Their legitimacy is immediately suspect and undermined. So we are reimagining community policing here in Chicago, and every single officer that has a front-facing role must engage in some act of community policing where they are reaching out with an open hand and an open mind and heart to make sure that our residents understand that they are there to serve and protect. But the other thing that is critically important and part of community policing is making sure that we have supports for community-based organizations who are also out there on the front lines. Our street intervention workers, our community health care workers, all of those things where we're supporting and building healthy and vibrant communities, that's community policing too. And we have to expand our vision and depth and funding for those kind of community-based efforts. And I know that Vice President Biden and Kamala Harris understand the necessity and the urgency of supporting those community-based efforts.
Mayor, the president has often used pretty interesting language when it describes to dealing with protesters and feds coming in and authorities coming in and cutting through them like butter. I mean, that in itself is problematic. I won't even ask you about that. But here he is talking yesterday about the violence in Chicago. Take a listen.
Mm-hmm. Together, the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois have 25,000 police officers, sheriffs, and guardsmen available to quell any violence. They can do it very quickly, very easily, if allowed to do their jobs. All available federal support requested to stop the violence and arrest the criminals. We have to be asked by the governors or the mayors, and we'll be there very rapidly.
So, your response, will you be asking for help?
Well, you know, those are the words of somebody who doesn't understand the first thing about local policing, doesn't understand the first thing about building authentic relationships with members of the community. Case in point is, look at the disastrous efforts of the federal government under this administration in Portland. It didn't help, it hurt. It exacerbated problems. Mm-hmm. I'm not letting that happen in my city. Yes, of course, we have our challenges, but the thing that the federal government is uniquely qualified to do is things like pass common sense gun reform, make sure that everybody has background checks, stop the availability of assault weapons. People that are on a no-fly list shouldn't be able to get weapons. The list goes on and on. The things that could really help cities to stop putting guns in the hands of criminals, this president has shown an absolute abject unwillingness to even discuss, let alone move on. So I need a leader in Washington, D.C. who is willing to take on the gun lobby and do what's right for our children in our cities. That is not President Trump. We need Joe Biden.
Yeah. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, thank you very much for being on the show this morning. Up next, November is less than 3 months away, and North Carolina is one of the key states that will help determine which party controls the U.S. Senate. We'll talk to former state senator Cal Cunningham, who's challenging Republican incumbent Tom Tillis. Keep it right here on Morning Joe.
How about no?
No.
No way. Come on, no.
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 Only Discover has no annual fee on any card.
You can't claim that as a dependent because it's inanimate.
People ask me what sort of a person should become a celebrity accountant,
And I tell them, nobody should. Hey, buddy, what's the damage?
I bought it.
The waterfall.
Nope. My new Volkswagen.
A Volkswagen? I think we're having a breakthrough here.
Welcome to Caesar's Palace.
Thank you.
Looking to refinance your mortgage? The first thing you want to do, find out how much your home is worth.
Just go to ownerly.com, enter the address, and see the home value instantly. Come to ownerly.com and see what your home is worth for free.
America's biopharmaceutical companies have one very important thing in common: a common enemy.
We're making great progress because we're collaborating in ways that we've never done before.
In a matter of weeks, we've progressed from potential treatments
To antibodies and antivirals that have shown positive results.
to several promising vaccine candidates.
Because science
Science is how we get back to normal.
I had a husband who was my vision, but when he died, I knew I was in big trouble.
At care.com, search for lots of local caregivers who can help with meals, housekeeping, personal care, and more. It costs less than you think, and it's easy to pay. Care.com.
Be right back.
Put more fun in summer with WeatherTech. From laser measured floor liners, seat protectors, cargo liner, and more. Order your American made products at WeatherTech.com.
Face